started that.
Welcome to Journey Through the Eyes, the EMDR Podcast, the podcast that is here to unveil and explore the transformative power of EMDR therapy. Our mission here at Journey Through the Eyes is to support both new and seasoned clinicians with those critical conversations and resources about EMDR therapy and building your amazing private practice. I am one of your hosts. My name is Tamera J with the Rise Counseling and Psychotherapy Services here in San Antonio, Texas. And I want to introduce to you my friend and colleague, Kathy Couch.
I'm Kathy Couch. People say Kathy on the Couch, therapist with the last name Couch. Super fun. And so we have some exciting, juicy nuggets for you today. One of the intentions here is we have content on this podcast, but we want to spread the wealth and support clinicians in the field. And we do that through guest speakers and empowering people to know, like, we see you. Could you come join us for a conversation? And we have one of those special people with us today, Noel Andrus. She's a light worker and intuitive, and we are just so happy to have her here today to talk about her retreats that she's doing. And so I'll allow her to introduce herself, but we're all just in it together, learning about how to do EMDR and work on our career path. So Noel?
Hi, I'm so glad to be here and just grateful that you guys even considered me to be part of this conversation and sit at this table so that we can, I think it's about bringing people together, but my name is Noel. My name is Noel Andrus. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Louisiana, right outside of Baton Rouge, and also board approved clinical supervisor and recently certified EMDR. I took the long path. Yeah, that's how I encountered Kathy and had the opportunity to be with you guys today. I was doing EMDR for about 6 to 7 years before I decided to go forth with certification. And here I am, right? That's what I mean. I took the long path. Like I took the stubborn long path that was there. But still doing consultation, doing all those things where we can operate ethically and really help our clients in the best way that we can, because that's what we're here for. I'm also a trained yoga teacher, so incorporating the body into what we're doing. Sometimes we get so disconnected from the alignment with our body. Yoga is a great way to consider alignment, right? What do we align with? Where's our flexibility to be strong, but also flexible, and a Reiki practitioner. And I love creative ways of being able to help people on what their goals are and what their path is. The whole intention of what we're supposed to do when we come down to this rock,
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, for our listeners, maybe they're considering certification or maybe don't know about how that can benefit you. Could you share a little bit about your journey from EMDR basic training and what it was inside of you that decided, hey, I want to do this?
It's kind of funny, right? Pure curiosity. It was pure curiosity because there was this part of me that was like, this is really kind of weird, like how could this and that's what most clients say, right? Like, how is this light doing this to me? Like no, you're doing this, this is getting out of the way and allowing your body to do what it does. And I came across an ad, and so I'm curious about it. I'm going to read about it and just continue to show up. And it's like, okay, I'm listening. Going in with very little expectation, thinking it was going to be this kind of gimmick. This seems really gimmicky. And so going in there, and I walked in, I have this thing where I'm ridiculously early to everything most of the time, like in person. Don't want to be late. And I walk in and I'm the only person that's walking in the room, and they're setting up. And this lady says to me, "This will change the way you do therapy." And she just smiled, and it's like, okay. And it changed every insight, every approach, every part of my being of how I align to working with people in this people helping profession, and going in and seeing how truthfully saying less is more, getting out of the way and allowing our clients to do what we're designed to do.
And
you
that
know,
was
life
basic
gets in the
training, is
way.
that what I'm understanding? Basic training?
That was in, yeah, the basic training prior to certification. And so just learning how to embrace that beautiful design that we have within us, and like getting in touch with our highest self. Like, what is self energy? If you want to take it spiritually, which is a part of, you know, our three-pronged approach, right? We're going to go
Yeah.
into our, as human beings, you know, mind, body, spirit. It's your highest self. And so going into that, and it did change every aspect of how I do therapy, how I approach therapy, how I approach people, like even
Yeah.
in my day-to-day life. And so I went through basic training. You know, you have your consultations, you know, you're encountering people, your peer relationships in the profession, and just really honing that. And I love to read. I think that's part of a self-care practice, just learning, being a student forever. Something else someone said to me a long time ago: always be a student. Like, you're never an expert. Like, you're always a student. You're always learning. And our clients are our best teachers. And then there was like this theme of particular people that would come in or with issues. Like, okay, well, to practice ethically, I need to really know more about this, and going into more learning.
Mhm.
And then I have this bit of a oppositional mindset sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
is like, certification is just a money pit. Like, that's just a money pit. I can still do consultation. I can still work ethically. I can still do these things.
Right.
I don't have to do this money pit. And that was me being in my own way. And then finally it's just this embracing it. It's time for that. And I believe that there's divine timing for everything, but it was time for that. And I got to meet Kathy, right? Like,
Yeah. And I remember
um,
hearing you, and I'm reflecting, like, I don't remember what that was for me either. Being a student, a natural student with basic training. I got trained in 2019. When I went to basic training, I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't know it was twins. And they were talking about how EMDR can affect, like, in utero, those kinds of things. So I was on a journey, and then I had my twins in 2020, and then the pandemic happened. It was right before the pandemic, and I thought, and then so I had not used EMDR for, you know, clinically, because we were doing telehealth and we were still figuring out that adaptation. And I'm just trying to remember, you know, I think for me, I just felt like I was committed to this modality. And that's where I went to be like, well, maybe I'll get certified. I'm going to be doing this learning anyway. But for people maybe that are considering, you know, after basic training, I don't know if I want to or not, just really, I think what I'm hearing from you is just take the time to make sure it's correct for you. And also what I want to say is that you find the right person, because sometimes energies can be off, or you can get messages about your worth sometimes, and that can turn people away.
Mhm.
I love what you were saying, Tamera, was that, you know, you get into the field early and you're told, this is what we do. We just do CBT, which is great. It's a gold standard, right?
Mhm.
It's the
Mhm.
only thing that we do. And not having the exposure and being playful with your
Mhm.
therapy. Because if you don't align with what you're doing, your clients are going to smell it. You know, the people
Mhm.
that you're working with, they're going to be able to smell that you're not in alignment. And if you're not practicing what you're doing, they're going to be able to know, like, we're going to fumble.
Mhm.
And I just loved how you had mentioned that, was that, yeah, like, you mean this model is the only way to go? Because for years I didn't feel a connection to the model that I was taught early on.
Mhm.
And I felt it actually like kind of set me up for burnout. It
Mhm.
sets us up for
Mhm.
burnout because I don't align with this. I don't feel like it's working. I feel like I'm just looping and going in circles, and
Yeah.
I could suck as a clinician.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, is
Mhm.
it me? Like, do I suck? And
Mhm.
it's finding what you truly feel passionate about and where you
Mhm.
align with. And not everyone aligns with EMDR, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But just finding what you align with, what you feel
And
passionate about.
Tamara, you have
Yeah.
a really lot of great points. I wanted to see if you'd maybe speak to, like, that part where, like, how do you find your alignment and get out of, like, oh, this clear path? I know you have a lot of great thoughts
Mhm.
there.
Well, it just for, what I have to say with that is something that Noel was already building upon and sharing, which is it's that journey to the self. And I think that a lot of the times, and the beautiful thing that is arising already in this conversation for me is the truth that we are all both seasoned and even new clinicians and even the clients we serve, we're on a journey. And that journey is not going to be linear, and it is going to look like this, but on the journey, I think that a part of our assignment and the work we have to do as clinicians is to remember we are the key. When we go through grad school, we get taught all the things, all the ethics and all the external things, but the reality of who we are, who we're becoming as helpers, as healers, as light workers, all the amazing things to help humanity heal and bring more light to the world, is we got to get that clarity on that three-pronged approach that Noel was speaking about, which is mind, body, soul, spirit, energy, whatever we're comfortable putting there, and that we have to do the work there. We have to lean into the visionary, what I call, right? Who are we becoming in this journey, in this field, and making the most, what I describe as one of the most courageous freaking trips.
Yeah.
Is to begin to make the trip from building our lives and our world from the outside and go within, and taking the journey, unraveling, unmapping, unveiling, and giving ourselves permission to tap into that creativity and that playfulness, and then paint that picture of who is this therapist, and then what does really value or what matters to you in regards to the work you're doing. And we got to get clear there, that mind, the body, the soul, and the spirit, and paint the vision. And a lot of the times, I think when we're so busy, right, because we go through grad school, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
This is a big journey. And I think sometimes, something Noel said is we got to remember, we got to practice what we're teaching, and choose not to be castaways on the journey, and a castaway is the person who can be it and do it and give it for everybody. And then, oops, I did it again. I forgot to give it to myself, and so coming into alignment with who are you becoming? Because we surely cannot be who we've been and then get out here and do the thing, right? We got to remain open, a student, not get locked into that idea that because we've been here for a while or a short while, that we're either expert or whatever we call it, however we label it, but that we do embrace becoming a student, and a student of what? First, the grander thing, which is what are you being called to do? What is your vision for it? And then giving yourself permission to describe who do you want to be on the journey, and aligning with that,
Just want to put this quick nugget in here, is that even if you're, just this mostly relating to myself and this journey of self, sometimes the journey to alignment isn't aligned.
It doesn't look that way,
right? Like what
It's
Noel was
viral,
saying, like the
yeah.
clients will smell it, right? And it's like, it's okay. You have to have sometimes those things like, oh, that didn't feel good to me, to get to that aligned spot. We're not this stoic aligned, people all the time, right? Having that compassion for ourselves too. And I want to say something Tamera said yesterday of like, the universe is calling for therapists now after COVID. They actually see the power of the healer. So I was just curious, Noah, what you thought about that and how you think maybe therapists post-COVID, or even your practice in retreats or those kinds of things, have changed during that time.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's
That's what we're
deep.
here for.
Man, yeah, that's deep. So I think that with COVID and how most of us were kind of forced to I don't want to use the word hibernate, but we were forced to change everything in the way that we did. There's a lot of resistance to change. There's a lot of, but this is how it's done. And how am I going to do it this way? And I was I had such a difficult time transitioning into doing online sessions and doing telehealth, and of that mindset of like, the only way to do it is in person. That's the therapeutic relationship, right? Like you're developing this rapport and this relationship and this energetic exchange and all this stuff, but energy travels, we know that, and just reblock yourself. But I think a lot of people were forced to change. And then that opened up the window. Like you said, the universe is calling clinicians, right? I think the universe is also calling us to do things differently. And that's opening up this, for me, I guess I can speak for myself, was actually opening up on an energetic level, change that I didn't even know was coming.
Yeah.
And change that was unfolding energetically first, and then how it manifests into the physical, right? And understanding, we go into this physical, but it was like there's more than one way of doing this. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how many paths do I have here to apply this work? And exactly how can I reach people?
Mm-hmm.
I probably would never considered reaching people electronically, right? And going outside of the borders and parameters of my state and my licensure, and knowing I can do other things outside of this that can shape the future of this work that we do. And Kathy, you had mentioned, like, wanting to build a legacy, right, with what you're doing. And I think we do that by going outside of our borders and parameters and connecting with people and being able to share our knowledge in a much broader concept. But I think COVID really opened up, to summarize, it opened up the idea that there's more than one way to do things.
Beautiful.
Were you doing your retreats during that time, or can you talk about how they birthed, and just share a little bit about what they are and your partner you're doing them with? I know it just lights you up, and I'm so
Yeah,
excited
it's
to
beautiful.
hear more about it.
So we're going into our third season of the Tapping In retreats. And so we started with one retreat, and the first year it was post-COVID. So it was after COVID.
Okay.
There weren't really any more restrictions, not here in Louisiana anymore. And it started with this, wouldn't it be awesome if idea? Wouldn't it be over lunch, right? Like, if we could just do like a retreat or something, and like do something like out of the country and go somewhere and work with people in a more intensive level over time, and this ABC, wouldn't that be awesome? And I was like, oh yeah, that would be really cool, right? In another world. And then it turned into the physical manifestation of, hey, we're doing this. It's booked, like the place is already booked. Let's do it, right? Let's start with this Facebook ad. Let's start with this, put it out there, talk about it to people. And I think we have 5 people signed up for the first one. And we want to keep it small and intimate because we want to really be able to have that connection. And that's one of the feedbacks that we get from people, that they really enjoy that even the facilitators are cohesive in what we're doing. So we started with a fall retreat. It was at a state park and in a group lodging center. And it's really about bringing people and creating a space to be able to reflect, to go inward, to self-reflect, and be able to really tap into that self energy, tap into that highest self. And without the distractions of society and the world. And we crave rhythm, right? We crave rhythm. What better teacher than nature than rhythm? Being out in nature, absorbing the wisdom from nature, being able to sit and take time and reflect, and learn to listen to what the message is and the wisdom is, and to take it in, because where that's coming from is truly like, that's your self energy, that's your highest self. And that is a really challenging feat to do for people when we live in a society that glorifies always doing, always going. We always have to do more. We have to do something different. On to the next, did that, on to the next. And I'm not immune to that, right? That's a constant daily cyclical thing that working with, right? Because we have one foot in the societal standards, and we have one foot that really craves to be more in alignment with nature and being more in alignment with the flow that we're supposed to go in, that we're a part of nature, we're a part of the earth, we're made of the earth. And we've gotten so far away from that. But the retreats are really about helping people reconnect to that flow and within themselves, and then assisting them on how do you apply that when you go back home, because you're going to go back home, and you're going to have these, old expectations, and you're going to have one foot that's still here, where you're able to feel that on an energetic level. And then when you go back home, there's going to have these demands and these expectations and going back to work and going back to life and all these things. But how do we step into a new way of being? And I think nature is a beautiful way to do that. We have intuitive connection sessions with Julie. She's my colleague, and we had the conversation of like, wouldn't it be awesome, right?
Yeah.
We just did it. And I love Julie for that. She's absolutely amazing clinician, creative, and lots of really beautiful, wonderful spiritual gifts that she brings. And she's able to step outside of that box too and take those risks of doing things differently, that it doesn't have to take place in a square room.
She loves equine therapy too. She's an equine therapist working with horses, and
yeah, that's part of our spring offering. And we evolved into doing another offering in spring and working with equine therapy with horses. That's her show, right? Like she takes that and she goes with it. And the beauty that you can learn from horses. My role for that was just making sure people were taken care of and they had food and they were during that day, and just being of a support of what people needed, and bringing things back and forth. But to sit back and to witness, because I was not familiar with equine therapy at all. And to sit back and witness like what can unfold from working with these horses was absolutely just mesmerizing. It was wonderful.
Wow.
So and it's learning what are our communication styles, right? Like how do we non-verbally communicate? Our energy is our first level of communication. What are emotions? It's energy inside the body. And that's our first language. And I love these little bubbles, these little thumbs up bubbles that pop up. Do you guys see those? Throw me off. That's new. And being able to listen without words is
ask you too, can you tell people how they find you? And I want to also say, you're doing something exciting you didn't mention. Sometimes it's hard for us to brag on ourselves. Can you tell where to find your retreats, but also share your first international retreat?
Yeah, it all started, right? Wouldn't it be awesome?
That is so exciting. I'm so proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you. So like I said, it started with, wouldn't it be awesome to go somewhere like Costa Rica or go somewhere like here? And we started locally. And this year, we do have a website. It is cornerstoneofdenhamsprings.com. And if you click the menu, there's tapping and wellness retreats, and it pops up our whole page with our offerings for spring and fall. Spring includes the equine therapy, sound healing, and Reiki. And it's in a beautiful natural habitat and nature preserve here in Louisiana. And in fall, we have our first international retreat for tapping in Costa Rica. Beautiful, beautiful place. So we're going to be offering for our fall retreats, we always have featuring massage therapy. We have a wonderful massage therapist, Jackie Brasso, and she just has magic fingers, like absolutely magic. And working with the body is a great way to work with trauma, to work with our emotional being. And a lot of people see a disconnect there, the physical and the emotional. What comes first, chicken or the egg? They work simultaneously together. And so we include massage therapy in there. It also includes Reiki and energetic alignment, intuitive connection sessions. And we have Victoria Phoenix, which is a phenomenal sound healer. And so she's coming in and she's going to be providing private and group sound healing sessions. My favorite sound in the world is gongs. Like gongs are just...
Yeah, me too. Resonating.
Like a cellular massage. Yeah. So she's going to be there providing that. And we're going to be really this year, we're actually focusing on aligning with nature and what that looks like, and really bringing people back home to their earth bodies and what we're meant to walk through and to walk with nature.
Noel, you are absolutely a full cup of awesomeness. And I sincerely mean that. And here's why I'm saying that, because number one, right now, your light is a beacon for so many therapists like myself who are yearning and just desiring to get out of the box. You have mentioned yoga.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned sound healing. You have mentioned the Reiki. You have mentioned mind-body connection and all of the beautiful things. And to me, those are very powerful healing principles and tools that we can wield if we are willing to be brave and courageous. Because these are ancient. In my book, where I come from, these are ancient. These are the sacred paths.
Yeah.
And I
That
totally
chills just
believe,
hearing you say that.
I know, me
Absolutely.
too.
I
Yeah.
had to say it, and I thank you, because that just, you know, confirms to me what I'm hearing, and that this is really what I now am embracing, is what I believe that the universe is calling us as therapists to, is to remember the ancient and the sacred pathways, and to be able to have the courage, Noel, and the boldness and the love that you are embodying, and being a true demonstration that, not just, if I can say it like this, and I say it with a lot of love, not just that we are coming through the modern day institutions for clinical training, and then try to do all the things, but that we as mental health clinicians, I firmly believe that our spiritual responsibility is to embody that which we are here to share with the world.
Yes.
And so
I
in
love
order
that
to
you
do
said
that,
I
Yeah.
know,
right?
right?
We
And
can
in
go back
order
to
to
the
do that,
certification conversation now.
yeah, let's go, because this is, you know, because I would love to have you come back with us and to talk with us at different times of the, I know your schedule is probably booked, but you said so many beautiful things that I think other clinicians need to hear.
There, you know,
Yeah.
the statement of, you know, the universe is calling more clinicians and working a different way. And this is a message that I've been sitting with. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Because we're still humans within these societal standards. We're still people, right? And we still have these conditions. We grew up, we were told things, and this is what you do, and this is how you do things. You go to school, and this is how you do things. And you just want to do a good job. We all just want to do a good job. And we don't want to, you know, do no harm to people. We don't want to cause harm to people. But the universe is calling more clinicians. And this message of sitting with and stirring with is the universe is calling a return to order. The universe is calling going back to these natural ways of
Okay,
what,
Noel.
like I said, we're truly designed to do. What is EMDR? Get out of the way, let your body do what it's designed to do. You know, like the universe, I really feel this, and a lot of people are feeling like we're being called to really kind of go back.
I want to talk about a couple of things here. There's a podcast my niece gifted me from Daniel Amen. He's a doctor and therapist. And what he is saying is that, as he's a psychiatrist, and he's saying as healers in mental health, we're the only ones that treat the things that you can't see. So when you treat the brain health, you have the mental health, but as a healer, it's treating the unseen that's the root of all health, right? And so in you thinking about that emotion, that energy emotion, that is, as an EMDR therapist, empowering people to not just say, try this skill, you know, eat some chocolate, take a bath and go home, but have that lived experience where their brain, their worldview, and their perception is different, is just so powerful, right? And the body can heal itself. Going back to our, what Tamera was saying is our ancient roots in a new way that's never been done before.
Never
Absolutely.
been done before. I love
And
Dr.
that, I think that does take courage
Mhm.
in our modern society.
I
Yeah.
want to say to both of you women too, and this is hopefully a call to action for our listeners, is I've had so many people come to me and say, I want to be an EMDR certified therapist or EMDR consultant, but I don't know I don't, basically they lack the courage to take the step. And so listening to you guys, you know, what you're doing, Noel, and everything you're doing, it's like, girl, you got this. And so they just need a platform or a space where we, and Tamera works with women as well, where we can get this and say, look at all this. Let me show you. Can you see this? Can you see what you just said? You've got this. Or even Tamera, she's so, she comes to me, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Did you just say you have a coaching school again? Well, I'm finishing my PhD. It's like, Tamera, you know, we have it, you know, and I think what I want is to create a culture of not creating, but empowering or bringing awareness to the gifts you guys have to offer. Even myself is hard. So, you know, we don't have to create anything, is what I'm trying to say. We just have to be who we authentically are, have that witness and recognize, and that's my mission, is to witness it so you can see it and validate it and bring that forward.
And be
That is
playful.
beautiful. Yeah.
Playful,
You know,
yeah.
can
Playful with
I say this? You know, Noel, that's my thing right there. Is you know, if we can remember when we were little kids, right? You know, and you remember how if you went to school or whatever, and they gave you the little art stuff and you colored, and maybe you had the little squiggly lines and all of that. And, you know, they were like, oh, it's just so beautiful. And you just colored all outside the lines. There was no rigidness. But the older we got and going through school, and then there are these lines and all these things. And I believe we are on a journey back to that creativeness, that place where we got to dare to color again outside of the lines, you know, and
But I want it to be
play.
pretty, and I want it to be, you know, yeah. And that's what happens over time, and we lose that connection. Just being playful, you know, and I'm sure you guys too. I can think of times where like I tried something new, and then and even Kathy was saying earlier, you know, and then I decided I didn't like how that felt. Like I really didn't like that. That really didn't work out the way that maybe I thought it would. But each and every time, if I look back and I reflect on it, it actually opened a door and a window to something that did. Like it was a stepping stone to get to something that did. And sometimes we have to go through that. We're so worried about like failing or not doing a good enough job or not being pretty, right? Not being a pretty picture in the outcome, is that we don't even try. And then so if we get into that mindset of just being playful and like, I'm going to experiment, right? I'm going to be an experimenter with this. And then even if it doesn't work out, you tried, and oftentimes you get to the next level of actually what it was intended to do for you. Maybe it wasn't intended to work out, but it was intended to get you somewhere else.
Oh, no, wow.
Just soaking that in right there.
That is beautiful. The image that came to me, and I'm sure we've all probably heard it. If not, then hello, right? Was, who was it? Who created the light bulb? Was it Einstein?
Edison.
Edison. You know, Thomas Edison and his discovery of the light bulb. If we can
Actually,
just
was it
lean
Edison?
into,
Was it
Edison?
I'm
Who
gonna
was
Google.
it
You
that
keep
made
talking. I'm gonna Google.
1,000?
I think Edison claimed it. He stole it from someone.
Okay, who was it? Whoever did the light bulb, and the story is how many times he tried it and it didn't work. He tried it and it didn't work. He tried it and I just think that we got to get to a place, and my heart goes out to us. I'm going to put it on the floaty thing we call society. I'm going to put blame there. And you know how when we go to school, and if you didn't get that T cross, you got the red X, or, you know, you're in college, they put the big do again. And, you know, but we learn all of these painful messages about what we call failure, which is really just opportunities
Learning
to do something again or to try again,
Yeah.
right? And it is that learning. And if we can become students of life, students, as you mentioned earlier, and be willing to experience the journey without giving it the painful meanings we often give it that trap us and keep us stuck, and, you know, all the things. But just, I don't know if it was Edison or Einstein, whoever it was, who attempted the same thing. He never gave up until boop. And then look at us now, all in our versions of light. And now they got LED lights and fairy lights and all these things.
All kinds of lights. Yeah, and then things are meant to evolve, right? And then we want to have that sacred reciprocity of then, just like this, the intention of this podcast is to inspire other people to be creators of their own work that they're doing in their own lives and building something. And so as we're doing that, you know, we're giving people permission to do that too.
And validating. There's this book I want to just put out there. It's from Elizabeth Gilbert. It's called Big Magic.
Oh, love it. Okay.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Pray Love, Creative Living Beyond Fear. What she says in this book is take the message and manifest it, because if you don't, the universe doesn't care. It'll go pick someone else. And this book is like, if you haven't seen it, you definitely need to invest, because she, you know, your art doesn't have to be original. In other words, it also doesn't have to be important. It can be a part of you. You know, it just has these really juicy nuggets in it. And that, what her talking about is just taking that creativity, manifesting and letting it be. But one point we had always said is, you know, going back to your point, Noel, wouldn't it be awesome? And how I kind of came into mind of developing this was like, I told the universe, I'm just going to say yes. You put it there. I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say, like this podcast, Tamera and I'm like, you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. Just ask her. She said yes. And it's like, oh God, okay. And so it's like that energy of like trusting ourselves, because you may encounter people that are like, I mean, that's a little too hard for you. Or who do you think you are? Or really, is that? And it's like, yeah.
Like, oh, that sounds hard.
Yeah, like the retreat.
Yeah, it does sound hard. I've been sitting with this for months. Yeah, it sounds really hard. So I haven't done it yet, but now I'm doing it.
How are you to have an international retreat? No, come on.
That still feels really surreal, right? It's an amazing sensation of gratitude and excitement, and like, is this real? All at the same time. And you know, and when we, you know, that word of embodiment and embodying the playfulness and the creativity, and part of our sacred reciprocity, you know, is then we want to, I know with like social work ethics is like, then we're supposed to give back to the field and to younger clinicians by supervising and training. So take what I've done and I've experimented with and take that, right? And you make it better. You go do it better. Right? I want you to do it better. Like, I want you to take it. I want you to mold it. I want you to make it yours and do it better. And then you give that wisdom back to the next generation, because that's what we're here for, is to be stewards of that and to continue to improve upon the foundational stepping stones. That's something my mom said to me at, like, you know, when you think about parenting, right? Is that the role of your parents is to do better than their parents, and then you do better than them. And then that's how we are shifting through, you know, transgenerational trauma or shifting through things that are handed down in conditioning. So if I just make it a little bit better, right? And not in the context of the words better as far as judgment, but if I add something to it, if I shift something in it, right? And then you shift something in it, like, could you imagine?
Like the telephone game.
Yeah, like, could you just imagine how beautiful it would be? And
it's been a juicy conversation. I think I want to respect everyone's time here. We all have patients and lives, but we will have you back. We're going to have more conversations on religious trauma. Noel and I share passions about religious and spiritual trauma, so we have that scheduled coming up. But we just really honor you. We see you. We think you're magic, and we're so excited to be a team with you and to be a part of your experience. So also thank you for helping us as well. Tamera, do you have more comments there?
I am totally in love. And I just so grateful that I met you, had the opportunity to meet you and hear your voice, your passion, and see part of your purpose. It is breathtaking. And thank you for sharing you with us and the world. It is incredible.
I feel that today was a really wonderful day, and being able to meet you as well, Tamera, and Kathy, bridging that connection together. I would love to continue that. I would love to be here anytime and talk. It's something I'm very passionate about. We have the tapping in retreats with the website. We have 2 dates to choose from. And I also do individual EMDR retreats. And so it's 2 days of EMDR, 3 days total within the retreat, and the time we spend in nature, spent on sacred lands, also incorporating for self-regulation, mindful walking, morning yoga, and then doing our actual intensive processing that's in there. And it's a one-on-one basis that people can, if they prefer to do something individually and more intensive with direct goals and targets that they want to work with. And so introducing those options as well for people for individual retreats. And so, and that's just, encompassing, that alignment, right? Coming back home to our bodies, to ourselves, to nature.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Speaking my language.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love it.
Of course. Yep. More to come.
Yep.
Tamera, do you want to?
Yeah, and so we just had an amazing time. Hope that our listening audience has some great takeaways, wisdoms, inspirations, encouragement, and skills, creative things that they can take away from today. We want to encourage them to don't forget to press that subscribe button. And Kathy, you take us out.
We're so thrilled and honored to be here for you, helping become partners and leaders in the EMDR community. You can find us at www.rewired360.com, Arise Psychotherapy, and like and subscribe to us. And you can also find us both on Facebook. We'd love to have you. I have a Facebook group for clinicians, and Tamera has lots of juicy content on her page. So, Noel, we celebrate you. You matter. You're important. And we're so thrilled. So thank you so much. And until next time.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.